All right, I do record, so I will have all the videos that we are recording. And what I've got up right now is Blackboard. For many of you, if you are an OSU student, you're in Canvas, so Blackboard is slightly different than Canvas, but they do the same thing. So we're going to kind of go through that. When you first open up your Blackboard, you can have a couple of different things for that. One is let me go here, all. One is you'll see the activity in the courses, but I guess I better introduce myself first. I'm Dr. Frankie Wood Black. I am the division chair for engineering, physical science, and process technology. I am normally located on the Tonkawa campus for Northern Oklahoma College, but this is an online live class, so I may teach this class from anywhere. It could be from the Tonkawa campus, it could be from my home desk, which is where I'm at right now, and it could be from the Enid campus, or it might even be on the Stillwater campus. I do try to get to the Stillwater campus on occasion, so if you want to meet in person, please let me know. I have freer days on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and so that is a possibility. But my main office is in Tonkawa, but I am on the Enid campus on Fridays, so that should give folks an opportunity there. I've got a few more things. I'll show you more about my office hours and things as we go through, but I'm actually going to try and do more of an overview of Blackboard so that everybody is on task with the materials. And as I go through that, you'll see where I have put things, how I expect to run this course, and how we expect to go through everything. First, I need to tell you that when you open up Blackboard and you actually look for your courses, you can look at them two different ways. One is the card way. The other is by doing it as this way. That is up to you as to how you want to do it. But if you go through, and I like the cards, so I keep the cards. You'll look at the current term. This is the 2025 or 26 semester. This tells you that we're in the school year of 2025-26, so it looks a little odd that it's spring 2025 when we're actually, calendar says we're spring 2026. But that's what that does. You can see that some of these stars aren't highlighted. That's how you can make this a favorite and put it to the top. You will see two courses for this class. One is the General Physics Laboratory, and the other is the General Physics course. Good news, I am not going to make people keep up with this Blackboard shell. So all the laboratories will be within our class because this is the only Gen Physics 1 lab that's being run, and I'm going to run it with the class, and you had to be enrolled in both, so you don't have to use this particular Blackboard. So if we go back to courses, so you can, in order to have it come up so you're not searching for it, you can highlight that star and have the star there. There is a calendar feature in Blackboard, and it will show you all of your calendar items. Again, this can be done in the calendar format, or you can do it in your due date format, and you'll see all of your items there, or you can access the calendar through your Blackboard course. Now, some things will show up on the calendar and if you click on them in the calendar, it may not take you all the way to the assignment. So if you're having trouble finding the assignment, let me know, but I think I've gotten a lot of those links, so that's not a particular issue, but you will be able to get those items through the calendar. So that will help you out as well. I do like the calendar feature. So once you get into Blackboard, you can join into our course. This is our course. I'm going to go ahead and put it in your view. So this is going to look like how you will see it in Blackboard. First thing I want to highlight is how to message me in Blackboard. You can use this little envelope, and that will allow you to message me. I prefer working through the messages in Blackboard, although I do respond to email, that's not a problem. My email typically, just to let you all know, I try to respond within the next day, but I do have meetings and I do have schedules, so sometimes I am a little delayed. The other thing I am trying very hard to do is if you email me after about 5 o'clock, I may not respond until the next day. Same on weekends. If you try to email me on a Saturday, it may be Monday before I respond. But if you are going through the messaging, because I'm working on the weekends, I do go in on the week evenings as well. And I see that message in Blackboard, I can usually help you out fairly quickly. But remember, I've got other things I'm trying to tackle. I'm a volunteer for the American Chemical Society, and I have those items. And we also run research projects at Northern Oklahoma College, which means I do have research meetings as well. So I do try to respond very quickly. It's quicker for me to respond if you use the messaging because it tells me which class you're in and it tells me what assignments and things that are very, very close. We will be using WebAssign for this class, and you can do the Ask Your Instructor feature in WebAssign. I do respond to those as well, and I like using that because it jumps right to the question that you are having an issue with. My rule of thumb about questions, if you are confused and let's say you've been working on something and you've been working on a homework problem or you've been trying to find something, if it's taking you more than 5 or 10 minutes to get there, that's time. First, take a deep breath, take a stop, walk away, go get a drink of water or something, come back, try it again. If you're still confused, go ahead and ask the question. It's easier to ask the question up front because then you're not compounding the problem or you're not compounding your confusion. If you wait too late to ask the question, it's a really kind of hard to go back and recreate what's causing the issue. And I'd rather try and address it quickly rather than have you get frustrated with it because physics can be frustrating, and I'm aware of that. But think of it as like a puzzle. And if you've ever worked on a jigsaw puzzle or worked on a crossword puzzle, you know what's happened. You'll start the puzzle, you'll get stuck, and you'll go, I just can't do this. And you get frustrated, you drop it, you leave it, you come back, and you go, oh, I don't know why this was giving me that hard of a time. And it really helps. So part of it is just stepping away because it is like a puzzle. So that's one thing, but do feel free to ask questions. I have no problem with asking questions. And please do so. And if it becomes something more than what I can get back and forth in an email, we'll set up a Zoom. I have a lot of Zoom times available, or we can meet in my office and we can work through those items. So just be aware of that. The course materials you can access WebAssign. This will take you to the general WebAssign. If I click on it now, because it's in the student view, it tells me I am not connected because I'm the instructor and I'm in the student view. So, but this will take you directly to your WebAssign and get in. You should have received an email from the bookstore for inclusive access. If you're having trouble getting into WebAssign, please let me know. And the sooner you let me know, the better, because sometimes it is a technical problem. Sometimes you may have WebAssign through another class. So we want to make sure that you can access your materials. So that's one of the things you want to do right away. But this will take you to the general WebAssign where you'll see all of your stuff as well as the ebook. Here's the Cengage technical support. Here's your dashboard. Here is the ebook that we have. This is so you can jump right to our ebook from that. So that first module, if you see this, this is kind of a module. I do pictures for modules just to break things up so it looks a little better. So that should help you out. Under instruction information, you've got some background on me. I was an industrial person for over 25 years. I worked as an environmental scientist, a chemist. I am a physicist by training. I'm actually a chemical physicist. So you do have a little bit of a bio on me. It's right there. This, if you open it up, you will see my dedicated office hours. That is the Zoom link to my Zoom office hours. If you use that link, I will normally let you in, but just be prepared to wait in the waiting room because I might have somebody already in my Zoom office hours. My Zoom office hours are typically from 10:30 to 11:20 every day of the week. And again, I'm on the Tonkawa campus the first part of the week, the Enid campus on Friday. And I can, if I happen to be in Stillwater, I will be in the main floor next to the tutoring room, and you may be able to catch me. So that would be when there, but it's by appointment for Stillwater because I tried to get there every once a week over the last semester, but that just didn't work out with some of the meetings that were going on. So, but I do have an office available. There's some information on office hours and how to use them. Remember, office hours are there to ask questions, review problems. If you're having an issue with those types of items, I'm available and I am there. There's another place for the Zoom office link, which you're going to find in my Blackboard, especially for this class. You're going to see more information, and it probably is going to be kind of information overload. I am not expecting you to use all the information. I'm not expecting you to watch all the videos, but I do know that sometimes somebody asks a question, and how they ask that question and my explanation may make a topic make more sense. So I want to make sure you have that available to you if you need it. And we'll go through that a little bit there. But I'll have like the Zoom links will be in multiple places and things like that. If you need to schedule an office hour with me, there's this link and that goes directly to my calendar and you can plop in a time for scheduling. Getting started with WebAssign, these are our first two assignments. And you'll notice that these have due dates of this weekend. And the reason is that I really want to make sure that everybody is into WebAssign before we really start diving into the material. This gets you used to WebAssign, gets you a little bit more familiar. Don't sweat it if we're having trouble, but I'm really put that due date in to make sure everybody is in WebAssign. We've worked out all the technical bugs and we've gotten things around to go. Again, you've got my Zoom links again. You've got the Zoom link for the class. We will start the synchronous at 5:15. Many of you will have seen on your schedule another time for the physics lab. We're going to run them together. I just had to put it in the schedule as a separate time. So how I run the class is don't expect to be on Zoom for 4 hours. You all would be brain dead and numb if I had you on Zoom for 4 hours. So the way this class runs is we get together. I start out with some announcements and I will create an announcements video. Depending on the evening that we're at, sometimes it makes more sense to jump into the laboratory first and cover how to do the lab first. Sometimes it makes more sense to jump into the short lecture first. I have full hour lectures that you can watch on video if you want. I do summary lectures for this class. And if you ask a question either through the weekly survey, through email, through the Ask Your Instructor, or through messaging, I try to focus the lecture material based on the questions that you have. So you all are actually directing this class more so than me directing it for you. So if there's a topic that you need me to cover more, if there's something that's out there you need me to do a little bit better, that you guys are directing this class. And I'll show you where the videos are, I'll show you where the examples are, and we go into that. So I will stay on as long as we need, but usually people are brain numb at about an hour, hour 15. But I am available for the material. Most of the time, folks are very successful in this class. It does require a little bit from your side to do it this way, but most people who are taking this class, it's because you're taking this class for a variety of reasons. One, you're working, you're in internships, you've got to get this class to graduate, all of those things. So I want to make sure that you guys get what you need to work through the physics in here. I do ask you to introduce yourself. We'll see that here in a second. And the reason I do that is I like to provide examples where you're going to find physics in your examples. So those are some things that are there. One of the things I want to make sure, let's see, you will need, because this is physics 1. Hang on, there it is. This is physics 1. We will be using, in addition to your cell phone, we'll be using this IO laboratory. This is not something that you can get at the Stillwater bookstore. It is something that you're going to have to order from the NOC Tonkawa bookstore. So there is a link in Blackboard to the bookstore, but you'll want to have this. We don't need it for our first lab. Our first lab is a graphing laboratory. We're not going to use it, so you've got a couple of weeks to get it. I don't care, by the way, if for those of you that are OSU students, I do know a couple of the sororities and maybe a couple of the fraternities actually have one. They bought it and kept it for them. And I also am, if you want to find a lab partner and you get one between you and your lab partner, I'm okay with that as well. So you can rent this so that you can utilize it. And we'll talk more about it, but I want to make sure that you're getting this and getting it on the way, because we're going to need it at about week 3 so that you can use it for the IO lab. We'll use it up till just after spring break, so we'll be done with it by about the first part of April, so you can return it early to the bookstore and take care of it from that way. And I'll be able to cover exactly how we'll use it. But this allows us to do the same things that if you were in my actual in-person physical laboratory, you're doing the exact same lab, except you're using this piece of equipment versus the vernier piece of equipment. So that's what's really fun about physics, is that we can do all kinds of cool things with the smart applications on our phones and by using something fairly simple like this IO lab. So you'll have that. So I want to make sure that you got that going. I will have 2. Let me stop. Does anybody have a question so far? Because I know I'm going fast. All right, I have 2 YouTube playlists that we will go through, or you'll have access to. This one is my General Physics 1 playlist. Don't panic if you go out there and you find one of the engineering physics laboratory or the engineering physics class where they're using calculus. Don't panic, just go, that's not one for me, go look at the other one, because I put all of my mechanics videos from all of my past semesters into one playlist. So you've got it in there as a playlist. You will have a dedicated playlist of all the videos that we do this semester through our Zoom sessions. You're going to have your own dedicated playlist. And as soon as I get the first videos up, you'll see the link for this playlist. So you don't necessarily have to go, where did she post that video? and you can go to the playlist, and I try very hard to post them in both locations, one in Blackboard itself and one on the YouTube playlist. YouTube does a really good job closed captioning for me, so you can put on those closed captions. I am transcribing these videos as well. So if you want me to post the transcription, I can, but you can also turn on live transcription on your Zoom as well. So that is available to you. So you have those. Okay. I'm going to come back to the syllabus here in just a second. This course welcome, get here first. It's a lot of the same materials in here. I did want to highlight this. I'm not worried about this. Anything that has a 2025 due date means I haven't gone in and corrected the due date yet. This is probably, I'm not going to worry about this one because we're taking care of it through our meetings. But I've had students panic, go, wait a second, an assignment showed up and it has a 2025 due date, or it was due before the start of the semester. It means I haven't taken care of it yet. And so don't sweat it. You aren't late. All right. So that's one of the things that are there. But these just give you some helpful tips and helpful things where to find some stuff. One of the things for all of you Oklahoma State students, if you haven't done it already, I know you use your Oklahoma State email address. This is how to forward your NOC email to whatever email address you want to do. So you do have information on how to do that. But this particular folder is just a lot of helpful tips on how to use, how to be in an online live class. So there's not, I'm not expecting you to go through and read all of that stuff in there. This is the link to the NOC bookstore. This is a link to tutor.com. You have access to tutor.com. It is a 24/7 item to be able to get a tutor. So if you're at 1 o'clock in the morning and you're stuck, that is a way to get tutoring. But we do have a few folks on the Tonkawa campus and on the Enid campus that can also help with general physics. So that's where we are. In the learning resources, you're going to find a whole host of extra resources. There's resources for our laboratory. There's help with graphing in Excel. You've got another link to my Google Drive that's out there. If you haven't gotten access to your Microsoft Word products or Microsoft 365 products, this is how you can get free access to those. This is how you can get free access to your Google Sheets. I have provided some extra textbooks just so that you don't have to be running to the library or trying to dig it off your bookshelf. If our book doesn't explain it well, the Stacks book, which is a free physics textbook, might explain it better. You have links for that. We will be using video analysis as part of our experiments. So this is access to the video analysis tools. There are references and guides on all kinds of things. If one of the things that I ask for people to do, if you are having to upload your assignment into Blackboard, I am asking that it be a PDF. To do that, I have provided you with a link to a smartphone application. This is Cam Scanner. It's for both Android and for the Apple system. If you use your student email when you sign up for Cam Scanner, it will give you the Pro version free. It will also, there is a free version either way with any email, but it will give you the Pro version for free if you sign up with your student email. There's another link to student.com. I have a citation reference guide. I am a stickler about referencing things. We will be referencing a lot. We'll be referencing on homework assignments. We'll be referencing in the laboratories. And for general physics, I'm asking you to use APA style, but you have links here as well. So the lab learning resources, there's just a whole, and if there's something missing that you guys would want, holler at me, or if you find something cool, that would be great. Okay. So you do have those. All right. So now we'll get to the ugly part, the syllabus. I have posted here both the lab syllabus and the course syllabus, and these are my additional policies, and they're referenced in the main syllabus, and we'll open that up here in just a second. But here's the general syllabus. The things that people need to know is that here are access. We will be using Firefox. So if you want to download your Firefox, it is also for Apple or for Android. So you have that. There's how to use Microsoft Technology Sheets. So you have those. And I will be providing you links to other resources. So my attendance policy, and here's the actual spiel. Northern Oklahoma College is an attendance-taking institution. You will notice that I did not call names because this class is large. If I were to do that, it would take up quite a bit of our time. So I take attendance by your performance, meaning, are you emailing me? Are you messaging me? Are you completing the homework assignments? I do a weekly survey. I try to do it each week. Usually, if there isn't a weekly survey, that is because there's an assignment that means I know you have to do it, like a quiz or a test, because quizzes and tests are only going to be open for shorter periods of time. So that's how I actually monitor attendance. You will be dropped if you disappear for 14 days, and that's 14 calendar days. I will drop you. It is an automatic F in the course if you fail to complete we have to do, you can miss, I drop 2 laboratory scores. You can miss up to 4 labs, but if you miss the 5th lab, it is an automatic F in the course. I don't accept late work. Okay, so that is something that you all need to be aware of, but you usually have plenty of time to get all the assignments in. Yes, there's a lot of assignments. You guys are going to be working a lot of assignments, but I don't accept late work. So that is one of the things that's there. So how I take attendance is I take attendance through doing the weekly assignments, keeping up with the work, all of that. The other reason I don't go through all the things is because a lot of times there'll be a couple of you together, and if I were just looking at the names on the Zoom, there may be 2 people in that spot. So that's how I do attendance. My extra policies deal with academic integrity and referencing. We will use the APA style. I want to let you know that I do use on occasion GTP0 to look for AI. However, I do use AI. There will be times in this class that you will have an assignment that will require you to use AI. The big key thing is associated with AI is I want it to be used ethically and responsibly. We will talk about that as we get to assignments. And if you are using it, I want you to reference it. Okay. It's like work for hire. There's a lot of things. And I will tell you right now, ChatGTP is one of the worst. It's not the best of all of them. I know some of you, that's the only one you know. There are others out there that are better. And ChatGTP will give you a lot of hallucinations. So you have to kind of watch it. And it's partially on how that language model was trained. So we will talk through that as we go through the system. But you will see that I use AI. I use AI, for example, when I post the videos after class, you'll see a summary of the video with timestamps. And how that was generated was by me taking my video, putting it into AI, and asking it to create a summary so that people know where to jump to in the video to know how to find something. And it really gives you, it's a helpful tool for that. So I just am making sure you all are aware of that. We won't have too many discussion boards, but I do have classes where I actually use graded discussion boards. So those are my graded discussion board rules. Grade disputes, please, please, please. I'm using a 14-day. If something gets screwed up in the grade book, please respond to it within 14 days so that it gets corrected, because I will not correct a January grade at the end of the semester. So this will help deal with those grade disputes so we're not at the end of the semester trying to deal with that. I want to do it up front. If the because I do know there are technical issues out there that WebAssign didn't transfer correctly over to Blackboard, or I mistyped a grade into Blackboard, but please, if we catch those early, it's easier for us to deal with than try to recreate it 3 months from now at the end of the semester. So that's one of the things that I really want to make sure that we do. The other thing about the grading and things like that, I do not take the excuse within the last 24 hours that my internet was down, my computer was broken, or things like that, partially because I do give you extra credit if you're done 48 hours in advance. So you should be well on your way to getting your assignments done before 24 hours up to the last part of the assignment. Now, I am aware that there are sometimes extraneous circumstances, like last year during the spring semester, there was a wildfire. And that wildfire, when I knew I had a lot of you out there, because a lot of the students who took this class last year were pre-vet, and they were actually helping move the animals from the various locations. Yes, I will make exceptions for those kinds of things. But I try to make sure that we are doing that. I'm being fair to everybody and want to make it good for everybody. And if we're doing things ahead of time, we don't have to worry about those technical issues. And again, if there's something that comes up, the sooner you contact me, the better. And then we can work through. And then I can also provide you with some suggestions on how to get around some of those issues. I don't take late work, and that's because I don't want to get there. And occasionally I will ask you to attest that this is original work for you, and that's part of my academic integrity item. So those are the kind of the specialty things that are there. The other things that you need to be aware of is that my grading policy is not strictly a 90 to 100. It's 87.5 to 100 is an A, 75 to 87.4. So I'm looking at 3 significant figures. My grading is weighted, and in the grade book, after a couple of assignments, the grade book will be set up and it will show that weighting that's in there. Homework is 30% of the grade. Quizzes are 25% of the grade. The laboratory is 20% of the grade. And exams are 25% of the grade. So you've got some things that are in there. The referencing, I will tell you right now, all your lab reports are going to be laboratory memos. And if you do not reference, it's going to be 5 points right off the top of the laboratory without a reference. Every laboratory is going to have at least 1 reference. So you're gonna lose points right off the top if you are not referencing material. We're all going to be professionals. We all have to attribute our work when we're working with others, and we want to make sure that we're doing that. And so I'm going to try and get you in that habit right now. I just had to take a yearly responsible research program, and I have to do it yearly, and it goes into plagiarism. It goes into making sure you're referencing everything, making sure that people get recognized for their work, all of that stuff. and we're just trying to help you guys get practice at doing those things in the professional. You've got a question when I notify whether you're assigned something. The notifications, number one, you'll get a notification in Blackboard. And at the beginning of every class, I go over what's due and what's coming up. So you'll get it a couple of different ways. Don't typically throw something out there that hasn't been announced or you haven't seen it ahead of time. Homework is typically available for at least a week prior to its due date, so you've got plenty of time to do that. I usually tell you exactly when a quiz is coming up so that you have that time for it. And exams, those are going to be only open for shorter periods of time. They'll be open for like 24 hours, but you're going to know well in advance when the exam is coming up so that you should be able to do that. So that's what, but I do, when I'm in the Zoom meetings, we start out with announcements and then we do the lecture material next. So that catches that question. And yes, I do. It is okay to do the chat. I just may not spot it right exactly when it pops up. Did that answer your question, Emily? Okay. All right. And then there's the course, the course outline. I try to stick to this, but we all know that we live in Oklahoma and things happen. So that's where we are. So that's what's in the syllabus. In the course additional policies, this is where you can find, I've given you an APA citation format. That's why it's not in the syllabus. Otherwise, my syllabus would get huge. So you have that, but I've given you some references there. I've given you some of the background as to why I do certain things with AI. That's in here. All of those pieces in there. This is a little bit more detail in the grade disputes so that you have that. Graphing. I will tell you that my exams are open book, open resource. I consider a graph is something that you're going to use Excel or some other graphing tool with. I do not consider a graph that's been sketched out on a piece of notebook paper as a formal graph. So I do have a graphing standard as we work through that. We're in physics class, so we want to do that. So somebody's asking a question about WebAssign. Some assignments completed on WebAssign show that they are unopened and not submitted when viewed on Blackboard. It depends on, we'll have to look at those on a one by case basis because I know some things have happened recently when I connected it to Blackboard. I had a couple people that said they were working on assignments and it showed as already being posted in the Blackboard gradebook, but they still had the opportunity to work on it. So that's one of the things that's there. Sometimes you will have to hit submit, but sometimes what happens is I think Blackboard is only updating like once per day. So you may be in WebAssign, got something done, Blackboard will not show it immediately. It may have to go through a link cycle. So as we'll just have to keep watching that as we go. But I did notice that it looked like Blackboard was doing a live update, but it was only like it was once a day. Go by the due date in WebAssign. All right. So whatever the due date in WebAssign is, that's the due date that I will be looking at. Because I do know that if I update the due date in WebAssign, it may or may not update on the Blackboard site. So and usually what happens is I've pushed a homework backwards. So let's say the homework was originally due on the 17th, and that's what Blackboard shows, but WebAssign may say it's due on the 21st. We're going to go by the due date in WebAssign. I will tell you that anything beyond January 21st, I probably do not have the dates correct yet. So just be aware that I'm in the process of getting all the dates correct. because I teach, just so you guys are aware, I teach an engineering statics class. I teach a general physics 1, 2 class. I have 4 online classes as well. So I don't necessarily have all my due dates scheduled out for the entire semester. So just be aware of that. But I will again announce, and if that becomes an issue, we'll talk about it. I've done some things to workarounds for that in the past. But and when I say the disputes for grades, look for it 14 days after the due date. We're going to use that due date and that's in there. All right. So those are kind of the course policies, and then I'll start talking about how we'll actually run the lecture stuff. Any other questions? Okay. So our first start, we're going to start with physics, introduction to physics in motion. When you open it up, again, you're going to see an onslaught of variety of things. I try to make it kind of step by step, but I know it can seem overwhelming at first. If you feel overwhelmed, take the time and email me, and I can probably talk you off the ledge. Because it's, sometimes it just looks overwhelming and it's not intended to be. But the assignments I'm going to try to do at the top. So there's a warm up or pre-work. And yes, I am aware that there'll be things in the warm up and the pre-work that you may or may not have seen yet, but it's to help with the lecture so that you kind of do some things first so that it triggers words in your head. So when we go through the lecture, you'll be able to do that. So the pre-work is due before we have the lecture on the material. I have opened up all of the active examples. If it says for practice, that is not going to be grades that go into Blackboard. Those are there for you, and you can do as much of those as you want or as little of those as you want. But I do like the guided active examples because I think they're wonderful learning tools, but I am not requiring them. So that is up to you. If it says for practice, it's worth 0 points in the grade book. And if you're juggling your time and you're looking at your time management, that's one that you can say, okay, I'm not going to focus on as much. This is the chapter 1 homework. So you'll see that the chapter 1 homework is due on the 29th of this month. What we're going to do next week is we're going to dive into chapter 1, and it's going to be due the following week. So you'll see how you'll see that flow, and that flow will work as we go through it. I try to do physics in the real world. So I have a number of assignments that aren't in WebAssign that are a little more creative. This first chapter will talk about estimates. And so one of the first things you guys get to do is estimate how many baseballs that you can put in a 55-gallon drum. I don't have an exact answer. There is no correct answer. There's a reasonable answer, but there's no correct answer. And we'll talk more about that next week. So you can start thinking about it now. I also have, these two are kind of interesting. This applying physics in the real world. This is how some people have been using these estimations as interview questions. And I'm curious to see how you all have it. And then we do these week evaluations. When you open up the weekly evaluation, it's 5 questions. It's easy points. Do it and you get all the points. All right. It's a way to get easy homework points. But I'm asking what was difficult? Are there problems that you want me to work on? This is a way for you to communicate what's going well, what's not going well. But if you do it, you get all the points for the work for the weekly evaluation. And that's my main tool for attendance. Okay. So that's where we are there. So those are your assignments. I try to group all the assignments so they're right up top. These are the Zoom recordings. When I ran this class in the fall, we met 3 days a week. and I have all of my Zoom recordings that are applicable are there. So you have my last fall's class. You can choose to use them or not. I will post our classes Zoom in their own folder as we go. This one, these are study guides. Again, they're there for your use if you want them or not. That's up to you. And then I have lectures that if you're missing a lecture or you want to get ahead, you can step by step go through these lectures, and that will get you the material. So this is really, those are a good way to go through and get the material. I try to have a discussion board because you can help other people in the class. And if you've got a question, somebody else is likely to have a question. And if I'm not quick to respond, hopefully somebody in the class can respond. So that's what that discussion board is. I also provide folders that say examples and supplements. If you go in here, you will see where somebody has asked, hey, I needed help with this. So I created a special study guide for that question. Or I've got, somebody said, I really wanted to see this solution written out. I've got a study guide for that particular question. I have examples. I have other links to other videos that are fun, that help. I have, like, for example, when we're doing the baseball problem, I actually did estimates of the number of pineapples in a shipping container. So I actually go through the example of pineapples in a shipping container so you can see my thought process. So these are all, if you struggle on something or need a help, that's the place to go to first. Because it may say, hey, I'm trying to figure out how to solve this problem. Or, hey, I'm trying to figure that. You might find it in that example videos. But again, as you can see, there's a lot there. All right. There's a lot there. I don't expect you all to go through each one. It's there if you need it and you can't get a hold of me. And so that it gives you those. It's like going to the library and finding a different book or talking to 5 of your buddies. Just trying to provide you with that. And you'll see those. And I'll do some other special helps as we work through it. So that's how the modules will be set up and how we will go through the material. And so so I do encourage you to go ahead and start working ahead a little bit because it definitely helps, and it helps us we go through the questions. But I'm available for questions. I'm available via email or messages, and then I'll hang out as long as somebody needs a question. So any questions that came up? The only other question that I will